Vande Guru Padadvandvam Vanmanaschitagocharam Shveta Rakta Prabhabhinam Shiva Shaktyatmakam Param Vande Guru Padadvandvam Bhakta Vrinda Samanvitam Shri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Nityananda Sohoditam Shri Nandanandanam Vande Radhika Charanadvayam Gopijana Samayuktam Vrindavan Manoharam Amala Kamala Raji Spashavata Prashite Nijasarasi Nidhage Sayam Mulasiniham Parijana Gana Yukta Kridayanti Bakarim Snapayatu Nijadasye Radhikamam Kadanu Radhe Radhe. So this is essentially a Radhas Sudha Nidhi class, which will begin with text 262 by Provoding Saraswati. Although I've been, it's sort of been brewing for some days, this idea of making this video, and it may be a little long. I've got several pieces of material prepared, and I kind of don't know where it will go from that. I've got various verses and various avenues of thought to cover, but I'll start by reading this verse, text 262 from Radhas Sudha Nidhi. Vrindaranye navarasakala komala prema murte Sri Radhayas charana kamala moda madhurya sima Radham dhyayan rasikatilakanata keli velasam Tammevaham katumihatanum nyasyadhasi bhaveyam. The great sweetness present in the lotus feet of Sri Radha, who is the form of eternally new, sweet, gentle spiritual love, is manifest in Vrindavan forest. I meditate on Sri Radha, who enjoys pastimes with he who is the tilak mark of Rasikas. What shall I do that one day I will be able to leave this material form behind and become Sri Radha's maidservant? I haven't read the transliteration. For those who are interested in the Sanskrit, they can look it up in their folio, or if they've got a copy of Radhas Sudha Nidhi. But I will ad-lib for a few moments about the actual verse, and we may cover some of the Sanskrit as well. So Provoding, and what the idea of beginning with this verse is that we can let it enter into our hearts as Provoding Saraswati is praying, and we can make the same prayer. We can utilize it as a tool, as well as just appreciating it for what it is, because it covers the kind of epitome, or the essential form or quality of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti in total. In a way, we can extrapolate from it much to talk about. So I'll just sort of summarize the verse. There's the great sweetness present in the lotus feet of Sri Radha, who is the form of eternally new, sweet, gentle spiritual love, is manifest in Vrindavan forest. So this Navarasa Kala Komala Prema Murti is the Murti is saying that Radhika is the form of this eternally new, sweet, gentle spiritual love. And I really like this inclusion of the word gentle, because it highlights the tenderness of Vrindavan Prem, because Krishna's Dwaraka Leela is obviously not that gentle. He's fighting with Jarasandha. He's gentle with the devotees. He's always gentle with his devotees, but there is a quality of battling, of war in Dwaraka Leela, but in Vrindavan Leela, there's only love battles. There's only prem. It says it's eternally new, so it's ever deepening, ever more wonderful, sweet madhurya, ras. Where? In Vrindavan forest. Not just in Vrindavan. We think of Vrindavan as a dusty town, but out in the lush, verdant forest of Vrindavan. And when we come to Radhakund, it's obviously Radha's place of pastimes. And that's something I want to touch upon, is the meaning of this word pastimes, because I had a discussion with someone many years ago who mistook this meaning of pastime for past time, but it's not. It's pastime, time pass. The entry in the etymological dictionary here says amusement, pastime, amusement, diversion, that which serves to make the time pass agreeably. Late 15th century, pastime, recreation, diversion, amusement, sport. Formed on model of French passe-temps, from passe, imperative of passe, to pass, at plus, temps, time, from Latin tempus. The central idea of a pastime is that it is so positively agreeable that it lets time slip by unnoticed, as to turn work into pastime. Amusement has the double meaning of being kept from ennui and finding occasion of mirth. Recreation is that sort of play or agreeable occupation which refreshes the tired person, making him as good as new. Diversion is a stronger word than recreation, representing that which turns one aside from ordinary serious work or thought and amuses him greatly. So I thought this is interesting. We can apply this to Krishna's Leela, the pastimes, the definition. I'm sure there are other Sanskrit words, synonyms of Leela, which have slight variation and things. And this point about recreation being refreshing is like Sanjivani or Rasayana, and amusement being kept from ennui. Ennui is a fancy French word. I think it's French. It's an English word borrowed from French. It says a feeling of listlessness and dissatisfaction arising from a lack of occupation or excitement. So Krishna's Leela is very exciting and full of different occupations. But this point, the central idea of a pastime is that it is so positively agreeable that it lets time slip by unnoticed, as to turn work into pastime. So there's this point of the time pass of pastimes happening, not necessarily being in the past. It can be happening now, and this is the point of Krishna Leela. It is happening right now, manifest and unmanifest, and prakat and aprakat Leela. And when we say seva, prem seva, it's not a chore, it's not work. It's not like, oh no, I have to go and do my seva again. It becomes a joy, and the positively agreeable, it says here. So time slips by unnoticed, so we can all aspire to reach that high level of positively agreeable seva. But then it's this last bit, which is really the jumping off point for this talk, which we're going to extrapolate on, where it says, what shall I do that one day I will be able to leave this material form behind and become Sri Radha's maidservant? I'm going to refer to my notes which I have on my phone, and the original note I wrote a few days ago said, "What can I do, or what shall I do?" You can do so much. There is so much. Krishna consciousness is not a limited or small-minded or philosophy or practice. There's this point of ruchi and vichar, and we want them to both develop. We want to deepen our taste, get a taste for Radha Krishna Leela, for serving Radha Krishna, and we want to get realization to propel that as well. And the sort of main focus of this talk is about Leela Smaran and Manasi Seva. It says here that in Leela Smaran / Manasi Seva there is scope for so much service, in an internal expansive opportunity. So I've got some other materials. Which ones to choose? Let me look here. I think I'm just going to have to go through them in order, or I'm going to get confused. There's this point about Leela Smaran, remembering Krishna's pastimes, that there are the nimitic occasional Leelas of Krishna, and there's the Ashtakaliya Leela, the eightfold daily pastimes. So before we talk about Ashtakaliya Leela, I'm going to refer to Nidhi Madan Gopal Das Babaji's article about meditating on the nimitic Leelas, which has the quality of helping us become eligible to meditate on Ashtakaliya Leela. It says here, the following list of obstacles to Vraj Bhajan comes from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Chaitanya Shastakam. The demons manifesting in Vraj Gokul on earth have symbolic significance. They are not found in the spiritual world. There they appear only as rumours or impressions. By reading the Namitika occasional Leelas of Krishna, the 20 demons mentioned in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the sadhaka purifies his heart of all impediments, obstacles, anatas and aparads. Then one becomes eligible to read, reflect upon and taste the Ashtakaliya Leelas of Radha Krishna. Until one reaches the platform of Bhava Bhakti, it is necessary to cultivate devotion by meditating on both the nimitic and the Ashtakaliya Leelas. By reading and remembering the Ashtakaliya Leelas, found in such as Bhavanasara Sangraha, Krishnanika Kaumudi, and many other, one gets a taste of Madhurya Ras. By understanding and appreciating the nimitic Leelas, a devotee will destroy all the obstacles to tasting the Bhakti Ras within Radha Krishna's eternal pastimes. With a sincere desire to become purified of all material contaminations, one should read all the above pastimes from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. With all humility, one should pray to Krishna and Balaram to remove the impurities personified by the demons whom they had killed. The demons killed by Krishna in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam represent anatas, impurities or obstacles, preventing a devotee from attaining pure love for Radha and Krishna. These undesirable impurities and demoniac qualities must be completely uprooted from the core of one's heart. Only 100% pure devotees of Krishna can live eternally in Vrindavan, blissfully serving the divine couple. If a devotee cries out humbly and sincerely to Lord Sri Krishna to remove these demoniac qualities which are represented by the demons killed by Lord Krishna, then Sri Krishna himself will remove those evils. but the devotees must personally work to drive out the Anatas represented by the demons killed by Lord Balaram. This is a mystery of Vraj Bhajan. The aspirant must personally remove these strong impediments with the best care and efforts, and by obtaining the mercy of Krishna. If the devotee's humility becomes very deep and intense, Krishna will be merciful. In that case, the feeling of Lord Baladev will arise in his mind and quickly destroy these demoniac qualities. Then one will gradually improve his cultivation of bhajan. And then there is a list of the, and I won't read them all. I can, if anyone's interested, I can share the article. I'll just read a few so you get an idea. Anatas Remedy, 10th Canto, Chapter 1, Aishvarya, attachment to awe and reverence instead of Krishna's sweetness. Brahma Vimohana Lila, Chapter 13. So the idea is that, what shall I do? Prabodhananda Saraswati is asking. Well, 1, we can meditate on the Naimitic Leelas. And this is a very systematic article telling us which Anatas are vanquished by meditating on which Naimitic Leela. So the Brahma Vimohana Leela, Brahma stealing the cowherd boys away from Vrindavan for a whole year, and Krishna expands himself into the forms of all the cowherd boys, and all the gopas and gopis of Vrindavan are unaware that Brahma's even done this, and then Brahma's pride becomes smashed, and he eventually offers Vandanam, offers prayers to Krishna. This is one way of removing our attachment to awe and reverence instead of Krishna's sweetness. And then there are many others. There's association with atheists, association with proud people, association with dry logicians. All those can be helped by meditating on Krishna's vanquishing Trinavata. Cheating propensity, tendency to disobey the instructions of Guru and Krishna due to material attachment. Meditate on Bakasura, the killing of Bakasura. Cruelty and unkindness due to envy of other living entities. Meditate on the killing of Kaliya serpent. And many others. I'm not going to read all 70 of those. Maybe I could post that in a comment on the video. I'll try and remember to do that. So 1, we can meditate on the Naimitic Leelas. And obviously there are 9 forms of bhakti generally mentioned. Nava Vidha Bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So we could touch upon them a little bit, that what shall I do that one day I will be able to leave this material form behind and become Sri Radha's maidservant? Verse just springs to mind, which maybe can answer that in a nutshell, in a simple way, is Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevya Upadexyanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tatvedashinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Render service unto him submissively. The self-realized can impart knowledge unto you, for they have seen the truth. So that's one thing, is follow your guru. If you don't have a guru, find a guru. And well, Krishna says that when the disciple is ready, the guru appears. So hopefully we have guru, and even if we don't have a vapu association with the form of the guru in this life, we hopefully have association with the Vani, with the instructions. And so there's the Prabhupada as a Jagat Guru. He's given the great gift of his books, and also there's books by so many other Vaishnav Mahajans and other devotees, and there's no dearth, as they say, there's no lack of reading material. And that kind of goes into Shravanam. As the first point of Navavida Bhakti is to hear. So that's one thing, is we can hear, and obviously Shravanam and Kirtanam go together, because when we're chanting Harinam, we're hearing and chanting, and so that's definitely two. The second thing that we can do is chant Harinam, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Vishnu Smaranam, in the sloka it says Vishnu Smaranam, but really the Gaudiya conception is more that Vishnu is not to be worshipped. Narottam Das Thakur says in Prem Bhakti Chandrika that don't worship Vishnu. He says just focus on Radha Krishna, Sri Yugal, Radha Krishna Yugal in Vrindavan. And then Archanam, now I've got some points about this, is deity. Archanam means deity, Seva, but it's really the Dvapara Yuga Dharma, Archanam. We do it. Now I've got a quote here from Jaiva Dharma, if I can find it. Nope, it's here somewhere. Yeah, this is by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It says here, for the Nirapeksha Vaishnava in the renounced order, deity worship is not recommended, because Nirapekshata, being free from all external requirements, is recommended. The Nirapeksha Vaishnava should serve the divine couple Sri Radha and her beloved Sri Krishna in Manasi Seva, internal meditation. So, we're not all fully renounced. So many of you may be grihastas and have accommodation for keeping deities and worship, looking after them, serving them day and night, and that's fine. And even this statement is a little bit loaded, because there are 4 stages of sannyas where one travels and preaches, and different. I'm not entirely sure of all 4 distinctions, but the 4th order is where a sannyasi settles in one place to do bhajan, and then very, very much they may have beloved deities which they're worshipping. But here it's hinted at that we can serve in Manasi Seva, so we can come back to that. And then obviously Padasevanam, serving the lotus feet, Dasyam service, which goes in Manasi Seva, is definitely Dasyam, and Das Anudas, serving other devotees. Sakyam, friendship, actually becoming friends with God. It's one thing we talk about, a relationship with the Supreme, but so much is Aishvarya, as we've just heard, that meditating on Brahma Vimohan Leela can help liberate us from attachment to Aishvarya and situate us in pure Madhurya Rati, love characterized by sweetness. And then Atmanivedanam, offering our whole selves to Krishna and to Radha Govinda Yugal. So that's that verse about Navavida Bhakti, and now we're touching on Manasi Seva. But Manasi Seva in necessitates, to perform Manasi Seva, surely you need Siddhadeha to perform this, and we may not be right up on the perfectional stage of Prema Bhakti, but Narottam Das Thakur in Prem Bhakti Chandrika offers some encouraging words. He says, Tatahi Sakinam Sangini Rupam Atmanam Vasana Mayim Agnya Seva Param Tat Tat Kripa Lankara Bhushitam. One should meditate on oneself as being the maidservant of the gopis, and in this way one will attain their mercy. And that's Prem Bhakti Chandrika, Song 5, Text 10. So it's not just that it's unattainable. We've spoken in a previous video about eligibility, qualification to practice Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, and I'm going to read another quote from Mahanidhi Swami's book Sri Chaitanya and Raganuga Bhakti. But there's another verse here, I don't have the Sanskrit for it, by Prabodhananda Saraswati from Vrindavan Mahimamrita, Satika 7, text 26 to 30. Always and in all situations meditate on yourself as one of Srimati Radharani's many maidservants, who are all expert in the arts of transcendental mellows, expert in making a great variety of colourful garlands, garments and ornaments, wonderfully youthful, beautiful, graceful and decorated with beautiful faces, always blossoming with happiness as they serve Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Meditate on yourself as Srimati Radharani's maidservant, as a beautiful, charming young gopi, delicate as a newly blossoming golden vine, as a girl whose moving, neatly braided black hair is decorated with jewels and clusters of flowers, whose beautiful nose is decorated with a single splendid pearl set in gold and jewels, whose face has the splendour of a golden full moon, who emits a great flood of the sweet fragrance of a host of lotus buds, whose beautiful breasts are like two wonderful golden lotus buds discreetly covered by a bodice, who has a very slender waist, who has very beautiful broad hips, who is beautifully decorated with a belt, anklets, necklaces, bracelets and golden veil, whose hips are girded with a wonderfully colourful cloth, whose limbs emit a splendid lustre that fills all directions, who wears glistening earrings and a splendid golden lotus flower over one ear, who displays the very wonderful gracefulness, joyfulness, sweetness and beauty of rising youth, who is so overwhelmed with love for Sri Sri Radha Krishna that her bodily hairs stand erect and tears fill her eyes, who is situated in the highest position of skill in all the transcendental arts, who is wonderfully expert at speaking joking words, who is plunged in a nectar ocean of transcendental bliss, and who considers the beautiful divine couple the sole great treasure of her life. I pray that I shall always meditate on my actual spiritual identity in this way, and that even in the greatest calamity I shall not be illusioned into thinking that this material body is myself, or that this home and its various paraphernalia is my property. So that we can maybe say is our third point of what we can do, is we can think of ourselves and meditate on ourselves as the maidservant of the gopis, or specifically of Radharani. That this is bona fide and acceptable for us to do, not just acceptable but necessary if we want to. What Narottam Das Thakur is saying in his verse is that it will by meditating on yourself as the maidservant of the gopis, you will attain their mercy. This will please them. It's not going to anger them or something. But this is a chapter entry from Mahanidhi Madan Gopal Das Babaji's book Sri Chaitanya and Raganuga Bhakti, called Siddhadeha and Manasi Seva. Manasi Seva, reality, power and mercy. Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells Uddhava that a sadhaka can worship Radha Krishna in 8 different forms, one of which is the mental murti, the form one meditates upon in the mind, Mana Mayi Pratima, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 27, Text 12. Thus, the daily meditation on one's own mental form, i.e. Siddhadeha and Sevas to the transcendent mental forms of Radha Krishna is real, true and bona fide. By Yugal's sweet will, Radha Krishna will one fine day clearly reveal themselves and one's own beautiful eternal form to their faithful surrendered devotee. Krishna guarantees the same. I reveal myself to the surrendered in the exact form they surrender and meditate upon. Ye yata mam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 4, Text 11. Sri Rupa Goswami Pad substantiates the power and reality of Manasi Seva with the Brahma Vaivata Puran story of the Brahmin who literally burned his finger when he mentally touched Thakurji's hot sweet rice he was mentally offering. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12182. The following verse from the Supreme Amalam Pramanam Srimad Bhagavatam convincingly proves and establishes for all time the incredible power of the daily practice sadhana abhyas. That's one, just to interject, the word abhyas means constant application, means constant practice. Doesn't just mean one time practice and then you finished your course, you get your qualification and you leave university and that's it. It means constant application. Daily practice, sadhana abhyas, of meditating upon one's Siddha Swarup, i.e. Siddha Deha, the transcendental Manjari forms so kindly awarded by Sri Guru. Adi Kavi Sri Brahmaji says, the most glorious Sri Krishna is so merciful that he gives you that very same spiritual form, i.e. Siddha Deha, upon which you always meditate. Yad yad diya ta urugaya vibhayanti tat vapuhu pranayase sad anugrahaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.9.11. While encouraging her devoted husband to beg charity from his old friend Dwarkadish Sri Krishna, Sudama's faithful wife said, if anyone even just remembers his lotus feet, Ishvara Sri Krishna will give himself to that person. Sri Jiva Goswami Pad comments, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.80.11, Sri Krishna gives himself to one who remembers even one of his lotus feet, or even just begins to think of that foot, and Sri Krishna gives whatever the sadhaka desires. What wonderful, encouraging and faith-strengthening teachings for the present-day sadhakas struggling to meditate daily on Radha Govinda Yugal and their own beautiful Kinkari Radhadasi forms. In Sri Gita, Sri Krishna himself says, if you just think of me, I promise you'll become very dear to me. Manmana bhavamad bhakto majijimam namaskuru mame vaisyasi yuktvaibham atmanam mat parayanaha. Thus we can see that the daily practice of meditation, i.e. dhyan or smaran, is both authentic, powerful and most effective. In Gita 8.6, Sri Krishna says, at death one will remember what one thought about most during one's lifetime, and it is these last dying thoughts one will become or attain in his/her next life. The Chandogya Upanishad 3.14.1 confirms this. The way in which a jiva worships Parama Purusha Sri Krishna in this world, she will attain that in the next life. Yata kratur asmin loke puruso bhavati tateha pretya bhavati sakratum kurvita. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, whatever one contemplates in sadhana will be achieved upon attaining one's Siddha Deha. Sadhane bhavibhuryaha siddhadehe pabotaha. In other words, that's from PBC 5.8. I'm not sure what. Prem Bhakti Chandrika 5.8. In other words, practice makes perfect. Daily sadhana yields siddhi in bhakti bhajan. Meditation is not only powerful, but it brings the blessings of Bhagavan. Sri Krishna personally promises fulfillment to his meditating devotees. In Uddhava Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.15.26, Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, O Uddhava, a devoted person who meditates on me, who am also called Satya Sankalp, one who always keeps his promise, will definitely obtain the fulfillment of one's desires. Some people say meditating on your Siddhadeha is just kalpana, imagination, leading to nowhere. But all the Praman quoted above, and Sri Krishna's sacred words and solemn promise here prove that such meditation is real and it will definitely bring success. The Raganuga sadhaka is meditating on God, the absolute truth and supreme ultimate reality. The Raganugiya devotee meditates on Sri Sri Radha and Krishna and serves them in tasty, pleasurable ways throughout the day and night in his/her mentally conceived Siddhadeha. Any form of meditation, be it occasional or continuous, upon Sri Radha Govinda Yugal and your eternal spiritual body is always real, eternally perfect and productive. Besides that, the daily practice of Krishna meditation powerfully draws the attention and blessings of Bhaktavatsala Shri Nandanandana. All of your meditative practices will culminate in perfection at the stage of Bhava Bhakti, wherein you will realize and clearly see your Siddhadeha and continue serving Radha Madhava as you were doing during the stage of practice. Mahanidhi Madan Gopal Das Babaji Ki Jai. So we're slowly answering Pravodanandana's question, saying, what shall I do that one day I will be able to leave this material form behind and become Sri Radha's maidservant? And in one sense you could say it's kind of two answers. One, we're answering saying, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. In another sense, there's nothing we can do, because it's all down to the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Mandan Tan Guru Samathan. But that's not true, because it's this discussion, as we've talked about in different videos, about salvation through faith and salvation through works. And Gaudiya Vaishnavism certainly has it's not in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it's not salvation through works, it's salvation through pastimes, as we've defined pastime, meaning time pass without being aware of time passing, to turn work into pure joy, as the pastimes of Krishna. So it's salvation through pastimes, or through meditation on the pastimes. And that being the case, alright, let's start tidying up here. We've done that one, we've done that one, we've done that one. Right, so we come to talk about Manasi Seva. I will pause there and come back to maybe some points about how to, or what we can do in Manasi Seva, to talk a little bit about what we don't want to do. Pravodananda is saying, what shall I do? So now we're going to divert a little bit to what shall I not do, or what shan't I do. And there's this verse from Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and I'm preaching to myself as much as preaching to anyone else here. Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Song 6, Text 17. Anyera parasa jenahi haya kadachana ihate haibe sabadana Radha Krishna nama ganai se paramadhyan ara na kareha paraman. Take great care only to serve the divine couple, and don't let any other activity touch you. Know that the chanting of the holy names of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna is the supreme spiritual meditation. Please don't try to raise any objections to this or try to present evidence confirming any other view. And then, so I've got some other verses about this. So this is the life of renunciation that we lead. We have a positive attachment to Krishna and devotional service, but there is also this quality of living a simple life, like Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-10 says, Kamasya nindriya priti labho jiveta hyavata jivasya tattva jignasa nato yasceha kamabhi. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about this absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. And then there's the verse from the Bhagavad Gita 18:49. Asakta buddhi savatra jitatma vigata sprihaha naiskamya siddhim paramam sanyasena digacchati. One who is self-controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain, by practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. So we may attain the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction, but this point of maximizing time and energy in serving Radha and Krishna, be it in deity form or in other ways, or in Manasi Seva, is that we want to do that. We want to maximize right down to the absolute eventually. Narottam Das Thakur is saying, don't let any other activity touch you, and we should be living in the material world in an absolutely minimal way, which is very difficult, obviously. We can only have that blessing by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So that's what we need to, one thing we can pray for is for that. One thing we can pray for is a pure heart, and then when Krishna sees the purity in our intention, then he can arrange the time and the place, circumstance that we can spend more time practicing Manasi Seva. So what sevas are there? and this is a loaded question. I would direct you to a series by Mahanidhi Swami and Madan Gopal Das Babaji on his website mnsaudio.com. It's in the Manjari Leela Sadhana area. So, and it describes 150 sevas that we can perform in a Manjari maidservant Swarup. And I haven't got all 150, but I've got a few sevas written down here. We can fan Radha Krishna with a chamara or a fan. There are dressing sevas, dressing ourselves, and also dressing Radha Krishna, or mostly Radharani. It depends on some may be Radha Snehadik, and some may be Krishna Snehadik. It happens, it's different camps, different groups of gopis. Brushing Sriji's hair, scenting hair with agaru smoke, applying cosmetics and unguents, sweeping and cleaning kunjas, etc., painting designs such as creepers and flowers on bodies, arms and face. Darpan Seva, and this is something we can do in Archan as well as in Manasi Seva, holding up a mirror for for Prema Vilasini Radha to admire herself or admire the work that you've just put into applying her makeup or arranging her hair. Picking flowers, and obviously this is part of a much larger visualization of the incomparable beauty of the Vrindavan forests, the many different forests, Radhakund. We can go out, we can pick flowers and vines, make flower ornaments for Radhesham, flower crowns, anklets, bracelets, earrings, necklaces, garlands. Radharani likes the Vaijayanti garland. Massaging feet is something else we're chanting on our beads. We can use the tactile sensation of passing one bead to the next as a form of meditating on massaging Krishna's feet or Radharani's feet, or even another gopi. you could give Champakalata a foot massage. I'm sure it would happen. It does happen sometimes. That comes into Sakyam as well, is making friends, is the friendship quality of Leela Smaran. And this is a point about the pastimes not meaning past times. Obviously we can meditate on the Naimitic Leelas, as we've said, for purification. We can meditate on the Ashtakaliya Leela, many famous well-known Leelas like the swing pastimes or Jala Krida, playing in the waters of Radhakunda, the Jamuna, splashing and things. But we don't just think of it as having happened. We think of it as happening right here and now, and you are there, and your powers of visualization will definitely increase, and I'm hoping mine do as well as I take this practice. And so making tasty juice drinks, mango juice, many different recipes, camphorated water, cardamom, pepper goes into these different juices. So you can go and pick fresh fruits in the forests and the groves around Radhakund, bring them back to a particular gopi group leader, is Kunja, and show her what you've brought, and she might direct you, and then you can crush the juices and make beautiful juice. And then once you've done that, you can obviously go and offer it, if you get the opportunity, go and offer it to Radha Krishna. Music concert. Now obviously this verse from Radha Rasa Nidhi is written by Prabodhananda Saraswati, who is Tunga Vidya Saki in Nitya Nikunj Vrindavan, who is the greatest music, well, next to Radharani is the great music teacher. So even if we're not expert, I think that's a very, very advanced form of Manasi Seva. If you don't know how to play something like the Veena in real life, and then you learn it in your Siddha Deha, that's phenomenal, obviously. But we can meditate on appreciating the music and the songs, the self-composed songs of love divine for Radha Krishna. Stealing of the flute is another pastime. It's great fun. Throwing flower bombs and squirting coloured water in pitchkaris. And then this last point I've got in my note here is the Gaudiya conception, is that Radha and Krishna aren't always together. There is a Vaishnav school, I think the Acharya was hit Harivansh and maybe the Nimbakis or something. They have this conception of Radha and Krishna being always together, but in Gaudiya Vaishnavism we have this Parakiya Bhav conception, that there's the paramour love, and Radha and Krishna serve the other devotees residents of Vrindavan as well, and we can as well. We can maybe get employed by Radharani's mother or by Yashodama or someone to serve in some way. To go, Radharani will go back to Yavat or Barshana and cook, and then Krishna will return home from herding from the cows, when really he's been at Radhakund for a good percentage of the time, but he'll bring the cows back and meet back up with Subal and Sridham and Balaram, and there'll be big clouds of dust. Yashodama will be looking out over the horizon for her Nandalal to come back, and then they do with all the cows and the calves come running and jumping, and such a beautiful sight. And obviously then with Ashtakali Lila there's the different times of day, so that would be, I forget the names, earlier than Pradosh Lila, I think, where Krishna comes back. Radhakund is generally Madhyan Lila in the middle of the day, and then there's the late night pastimes, obviously Ras Lila and everything, and early morning pastimes, Krishna milking the cows. So in this vein, I think I've covered most of. Oh yes, we'll finish with this point. Krishnam smaran janam chasya preshtam nija samihitam tat kata ratas chaso kurihad vasam braje sada. The devotee should always think of Krishna within himself, and one should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship to Krishna, and one should live in Vrindavan. However, if one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should mentally live there. So this is another approval. This is Prem Bhakti Chandrika by Narottam Das Thakur again, Song 5, Text 11. So he's saying that yes, we should live there mentally, and it's something that Madan Gopal Das Babaji's talked about a lot. This and Srila Prabhupada mentioned it as well one time in Los Angeles or something. He was sitting and they said, "You think this." Or was it San Francisco? You think you're in San Francisco, you think I'm in San Francisco, but actually I'm in Vrindavan. So we can do that. But it's not easy. It's not easy, but it gets easier. So I pray for any forgiveness. I pray for forgiveness for any offences or oversights in making this video. I hope it may be inspiring, and it leaves me nothing more to say than Hare Krishna, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.